It takes more than hacking Patreon to get your intro read on the podcast to be a great engineer. This is Soft Skills Engineering episode 316. I'm your host, Dave Smith.
I'm your host, Jamison Dance.
Soft Skills Engineering is a weekly advice podcast for software developers about all the non-technical stuff that goes into being a software engineer.
I like the implication here that the most valued prize on Patreon is, in fact, getting your name read on this podcast. There's nothing better you could do by hacking into it.
Yeah, like this is right in line with the spirit of like spending hours and hours on editor configs and tooling and shell configurations, because you're like, you could have spent $10, but instead you spent months hacking Patreon.
You risked jail time.
Yes.
But you know what? You can't put a dollar price on the friends you made along the way while trying to hack. All right. I want to thank our patrons. Thank you to a one-time shout out for yachtfutures.aq/Jamison. I learned that .aq is the Antarctica TLD, and yachtfutures.aq does not resolve to anything. But
yet.
Yeah, I guess hop on that if you want to make me type a link and then show me a thing, because I'll keep typing it. It just says my name. It's like a shiny object to a magpie. Like, all right, I'm obsessed with this thing now. Okay, back to the weekly shout-outs. Thank you to these folks who are contributing at the level where we shout them out every single week. Thank you to Kent C. Dodds, Theodore Savin, Nathan Sakon, Memester Josh, Owen Shardle, Craig Motlin, I Love Mavis, The Stochastic Parrot, Alice Jost, Andrew Pollock, Lenfer Puigurgerwigich. I may have elided some syllables in the middle of that one, but I tried. Coshocton, Ohio, patreon.com.au, we're hiring. Ira Chan, Monkeyface Emoji, Jonathan King, testingisdocumenting.org, Will Angel, who does not have stinky feet, Ragnar, Nick Hathaway, Travis Sanders, Braden Keynes, John Grant, Nick Cantar, and Philip John Basile. Thank you. Thank you to all those folks. Thank you, and your support helps keep the show going. And in return, you also get an invite to our Slack community. If you contribute any dollar amount, you can go to softskills.audio, click support us on Patreon to join this crew. And if you want us to say words, you can bump that number up. And if you just want the Slack invite, we're happy to have you.
That's true. All right. This episode is sponsored by Hired, which is the best way to quit your job and get a new one. Jamison, you want to read our first question?
I do. That's what I want to do right now. This is from an anonymous listener who says, "Hi, I have been a software engineer at a very small company for 10 years. We write desktop products and single server products. I don't have experience with scaling systems or the latest and greatest JavaScript frameworks. I would like to move to a company where I can learn and grow using a more modern stack. My coding skills are great, but it seems like I just don't have the experience many companies are looking for. With 15 years total experience, I am too junior for senior positions and too senior for junior positions. I'm feeling stuck and am tempted to quit my job so I can focus on side projects using the latest and greatest tool. Or is there a better way to get unstuck?"
Ah, very interesting. This is like the first 10 years of my career as well.
On desktop and single server products?
That's exactly right. I mean, sometimes there was two servers.
When I hear single server products, I assume this is some kind of like appliance that companies buy and stick on a computer in their office or something like that.
That's what I was thinking. Same kind of thing. Desktop software, software you install yourself and run it on premises. For me, it was C++ and the Qt framework, which was still, to date, the absolute best programming framework I have ever used.
Have you gone back to it to see if you have rose-colored goggles on?
Yeah, I haven't. I probably... let's not
better
do
not.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, don't want to risk it.
Oh, it was great though. But yeah, like I had to do this because I remember thinking like, oh man, I felt like I was in dead end technology, and that really wasn't totally true. But my world was getting narrower and narrower. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like the futures, the number of different futures following that same path was kind of shrinking.
Yeah. I had always, actually back then I had convinced myself that web development wouldn't pay that much. And so it was better to be, a desktop software developer. As long as like 20 years ago. Huh. It's kind of stupid in hindsight, but I thought, who could get paid to write HTML? That's like what you do for fun. Just, I made a home page.
For a while, that was the same thing with native mobile versus web too. Like,
Yeah.
Native mobile is the expensive one.
That's right. In fact, I remember thinking that native mobile was would be my bridge. Like I could go from desktop software to native mobile to web, and that was kind of a bridge. But I didn't. Went straight to web.
It's a good decision. Well, actually, I don't even know. Do you like the web? I know some people have like personal feelings about the value and importance of it, and to some people, it's the thing that they work on. Are you a web aficionado?
I do like the web. I mean, I feel like you, as a web developer, you can produce software that does more interesting things than a non-web developer. You know, especially when you consider how easy it is to drop in things like payment systems and integrations with other products that make your product a lot better. It's just really easy these days to do things like that. Can you imagine trying to process credit cards in like 2003? You know, before there was Stripe and those other things.
A dark time.
It's crazy, right? Now that stuff is trivial. So I really like that about the web. You can build a lot by just plugging things together. But at the same time, that's why I didn't want to go into the web, because I thought you're just snapping Legos together. You're not really doing engineering. That's what I thought. Was I right?
Nope, you were wrong. I'm not going to give any evidence, though. My coding skills are great, but I don't have... So 15 years total experience, 2 junior for senior positions. 15 years does not sound too junior for senior positions to me. I wonder if the question asker means like it's not the right 15 years of experience.
Could be.
2 senior for junior positions, I could see that as well. One tactic I've heard about is just leaving off stuff towards the earlier part of your career. If you feel like you are too senior and would like to deliberately target a more junior position and avoid being seen as overqualified.
Yeah, or that your salary requirements might be too high.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's part of the concern that's unstated here, is that I might have to take a pay cut to pivot into a more opportunity-filled landscape.
A very small company for 10 years. That part makes me think that probably not. If that's important to you, you probably are not at a very small company that happens to pay outrageously well.
Yeah, that's probably true. Especially if they're doing stuff using kind of esoteric technologies that aren't super well known.
Yeah, not enough VC bucks in single server products to meet our outrageous demands. Yeah. Quit and focus on side projects. So
I don't think that's a good idea.
That's a really, really expensive option. Would you pay $40,000 for time to work on side projects?
Yeah, today.
Yeah, adjust that number depending on how long you stay quit and how much money you are missing out on. But
yeah, like, and to put that into perspective, like, okay, let's say you could magically wave a wand and give yourself 40 extra hours a week for no additional tiredness.
Yeah.
But you just had to pay 40 or 50,000 bucks for it for 3 months of that. Would you pay it?
Here's what I would do. I would pay it and then just play video games for those extra 40 hours a week.
40
Sweet.
hours of not feeling tired?
Yeah, I've unlocked the secret. I can go into my like pocket dimension where time passes differently and no one interacts with me, and I'll use that gift to click pixels.
And you'll come back out of the pixel land and no one will even know you were gone.
Yep.
It's like, oh, Jamison. Hey, guys. Oh, you have bags under your eyes.
Yeah. It's been a long day.
I had to go
twice
to the
as long.
Yeah, it's twice as long. It's literally been a long day.
Yes.
That went over my head the first time you said it.
I'm feeling stuck.
I think most people would not take that trade, the $40,000 trade or $50,000 trade.
Yeah.
And plus, I got to tell you, side projects, not that impressive. A lot of people tout this like you need to go into interviews with side projects. Now, I know in this case, the question asker is saying, I need to do side projects to develop some new skills. But I got to tell you, as an employer, you're not that much more interesting to me if you happen to have some random side project you created in JavaScript. I'm much more interested in your 15 years of software development experience, even if it's not in the language that I happen to be using at work right now.
Yeah, I feel like side projects can be signal for very junior folks where there's not a lot of work experience. Or if your side project is like Redis or something, it's like the top 0.1% of... If you can glance at it and know, oh, the person who wrote this is amazing, or if it's incredibly successful, then that would probably carry some weight. But if it's just like, I built a website to organize recipes, and it's like pretty good.
To me, I will say one strong signal that side projects give me, especially if you're doing a lot of dabbling in a lot of different technologies and languages, is that this is a person who was interested in learning. And I tell people when I'm interviewing them, I said, look, I don't hire people who just happen to have the exact right grocery list of programming languages on their resume that matches what my company uses today. I hire people who have a demonstrated track record of learning new things, because at my company, the stuff we're doing today is not going to be in the same languages and technologies that it will be in 5 years. And I need to hire people who will, A, be able to ride the wave with us as we move to new technologies, and B, carry us into those new technologies. So if you have a proven track record of like, oh yeah, I just wanted to learn Haskell, so I whipped up a online shopping parser to go and scrape the web for the best deals on pocket protectors, which is obviously what a Haskell programmer would do. And it's like, and I've done this in Ruby and Golang and JavaScript, and I've done all these, it's like, now this is a person who's interested in the craft, So that to me is pretty strong signal. But it's not the right signal for saying, I know web development because I made an online to-do tracker in React.
Yeah. So side projects, not so much. I mean, there will be places that you will not pass an interview or even get an interview because you don't have experience in the specific technologies. But I think there are enough places, like Dave mentioned, that you should be able to find something.
Yeah, it definitely narrows the universe, like the total addressable market of companies that will interview you and possibly hire you. There are certainly a lot of companies out there who do the grocery list thing. We do Java and specifically Spring, and we're looking for 5 years of that. And it's like, okay, well, these people aren't for you.
Ooh, Play. Sorry. It's not going to cut it. Isn't Play a Java framework?
I have no idea. Probably.
I should know this.
It probably is.
I work professionally with the JVM at my current job, and look how smart I am at it.
Instead of researching all these technologies, you've just spent all your time tuning the JVM's garbage collector.
Yes, precisely that.
So there's a whole bunch of companies out there that are like that you won't get in the front door. And that's unfortunate for them, I think. But it is true, and you won't get those jobs. So your job becomes a little bit extra challenging to make this pivot. But it can be done. I've done it. You have to find ways to demonstrate your proficiency as an engineer and problem solver, even if the languages that you're interviewing for aren't the same exact ones you've worked with. And it certainly wouldn't hurt if you did brush up on some of these languages so that you can walk into an interview and speak intelligently about them. Like, for example, if it's a Python shop, all you got to do is say the word list comprehension, and you'll be fine. You can fake your way through the rest of it.
Feeling stuck and tempted to quit my job. I mean, just never underestimate how easy it can be sometimes in some circumstances to find a job. Certainly not everybody, certainly not all the time, but it looks like this person is saying, should I invest this large amount of effort, financial and personal, to switch careers? And maybe that's what it takes, but maybe you can also just message 5 recruiters on LinkedIn and say, hey, I'm looking to change fields. And then one of them brings you something that sounds good.
It's a good idea.
Well, would they even know what to do? If you messaged a recruiter and said, hey, I'm a developer, I need a job, can you help me? Would they think you were catfishing them or something?
They're like, no one ever does this.
Yeah, I've heard that one before. Yeah,
well, they actually have heard that a lot, probably. But it's all coming from brand new bootcamp graduates who are struggling on that grind to get their first job. And I'll bet you recruiters have just as much email coming in from those people as they have sending out to other more experienced people.
Yeah. It's a circle of life. One email comes in, one goes out. Balance. Yes. Balance. Conservation. Recruiter inbox counts. Have we answered this question?
Let's see. Almost. I do. Well, maybe I'll just reiterate what I said, because this is what I did. And if it worked for me, then obviously it's universal. Which is that when you find that company that you think will be open to the idea of hiring you on aptitude and engineering general skill instead of specific skill, you definitely need to go and brush up on the technologies that they use. And one suggestion I would have is, like, if it's a programming language you haven't used before, just go buy one of the small books on the language, not like the mega language reference, but they often, most languages have a little book. It's like 100 pages long that someone has written, and it'll get you through all the basics and lay the foundation for you because you've been developing software for 15 years. Like there's not going to be any new surprising concepts in there. But if you can familiarize yourself with the lingo and the kind of ecosystem of that language, you can come in and sound like you already know the language pretty well. And frankly, if you'll just invest 3 or 4 hours in reading that book, you'll know the language pretty darn well anyway. You got enough you got enough experience here, right? You can be like, "Oh, that's just like a pointer."
If you're me, you have to read it right before the interview.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Want to know the language pretty well with 3 or 4 hours of reading. It's got to be pretty fresh in there.
Yeah, just wake up early that morning, read the book, walk
Yeah.
into the interview, and then say the magic word: list comprehension. Anyway, that's my suggestion. I think you can pull it off, and I don't think you need to quit your job and work on side projects for 3 months to do it.
Of course they can pull it off. They listen to this show, which has demonstrated their quality as a human.
Obviously.
All right, now we've answered the question.
We have. Hey, Jamison, have you heard about The Great Resignation?
Is it that Charles Dickens book? Wait, no. The entire population on Earth has started taking our advice of quit your job.
Oh, yes, that's right. Apparently, we have achieved influencer status. We've been telling developers for years to quit their jobs, and now we want to tell you how to do it. We're ready to reveal the secret.
You mean you don't just walk out shooting finger guns?
Yes, well, you do that first, but after you do that, there's a new service we want to tell you about called Hired.
What is Hired, Dave?
Hired is the biggest AI-driven marketplace that matches engineers with companies. It is a great way to find your next job. I've been watching this industry for 20 years with a keen interest on hiring in particular, and I've never seen anything like Hired.
Tell me about what you're seeing.
So I've interviewed about 150 people in the last year, and I am serious. Every candidate that's come to me through Hired has multiple offers, and they're incredibly high, scary high, like 30% higher than other candidates.
Is that before or after the finger guns?
Yeah, both. But the beauty is it's totally free for engineers, and we would love for you to go try it. Go to hired.com/softskills to check it out.
Hired.com/softskills. Quit your job the best way and check out Hired.
Dave, I almost said, will you answer our next question?
I will.
Do that too, but will you read it first?
Sure. How about we do it in opposite order? We answer it and then read it. What if we did a show where we give an answer
We blind
and then
answered questions?
Yeah, then we quiz our listeners to see if they can reverse engineer the question.
That sounds like a lot of work. So I'm going to say it's a bad idea.
Okay. It's inherently bad because it seems like a lot of work. Okay, I'll go ahead and read it. This comes from a listener named James, who says, "How do you know when it's the right time to move on from an almost perfect job? I've been a front-end developer for 6 years and spent the last 2 years at a really great company. I have lots of autonomy, a competitive salary, excellent stock options, and great job security. But so far, my entire career has been working with the same technologies, and there's no scope to learn new languages at my current job. I was recently contacted by a recruiter, which resulted in an interview offer for a full stack role with a stack that would be completely new to me but really excites me. I'm worried that never holding a development job for more than 2 years would look bad, but at the same time, I don't want to be stagnant and not learning. Should I stay at my current job where I'm comfortable or take a risk and jump into the unknown to develop my career?" And yes, I did resist singing Into the Unknown for those 3 words.
What is that from even?
I'm not going to pitch it.
Is that Frozen?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't see Frozen for a long time after it came out, and then Kids, and then I did. It's pretty good. Late breaking news. Frozen is an okay movie.
It's an okay. The critics are raving. Frozen is okay.
I've met people who have been able to successfully go from not knowing a tech stack or language to being pretty fluent in it on their own time outside of work. I am not one of those people. I think I can become like travel dictionary fluent in a new tech stack on my own, but I haven't ever developed deep expertise in a tech stack or language without working with it. So I can empathize with this question asker's framing of it. Like they're kind of assuming they can't just learn a new thing where they are right now and then kind of step into it that way. they want to go get a new job to help them learn a new thing. And I can empathize with that. I've done it.
Well, let's all do that.
Yeah, it'll work for you too. I forgot to tack that on the end.
It goes without saying.
Current developer. So I feel like I have to gesture ominously at these uncertain times.
And they're also unprecedented.
Unprecedented, uncertain times. I see a lot of media saying, like, is there a recession coming? Maybe there's a recession coming. And I feel like in tech, the answer is yes, it is not. There's no doubt there is a tech recession happening right now. So the value of job security might go up.
That's true. The current environment really changes our answers. I think if you had asked me this question a couple of years ago, I said, oh, you've been a developer for 6 years and you're already 2 years at your current company? Yeah, go. Try something new.
Yeah.
But right now I might say, I don't know, because you leave this place, you go to a new place. I'm not sure that it's going to be as easy to find a job if that doesn't work out.
Yeah. 2 years is not a bad look, though, for a stint at a company. That's totally fine.
Yeah, your resume will look perfect.
Yeah, you already have the potential of a job. So I'm not worried about can you get the next job. It's more like, what if you land at a place that isn't as stable? What if they encounter financial difficulties because of these unprecedented times? And now you've kind of left the safe haven of your previous gig.
Although at the same time, who's to say that this job really is all that secure either?
That's true. I'm sure a lot of people who got laid off thought their jobs were very secure until that happened.
I mean, everyone at every company is just one bad phone call away from being unemployed. You and I are in no different situation. It's just an unfortunate effect of, I don't know, it's an effect of, I guess, reality.
The way the world works? I don't know.
Yeah. Physics? I don't know. What's at the bottom of this root cause stack?
Yeah. Maybe the United States labor laws is probably the answer there, because I know it's very different. Not the same everywhere with at-will employment and such.
Maybe.
Oh, you said there's no scope to learn new languages at my current job.
Yeah.
And if I were your manager, I might say, yeah, probably not. But if I were your coworker, I would say there's always a way to sneak in a new language. You just need to be devious enough. Like if it's I don't know, if it's JavaScript, there's a bajillion compile to JavaScript languages out there. You can invent or come up with a justification for some new microservice to pilot out something if it's more back-endy. There's no scope to learn new languages. Yeah. Depending on how much you're willing to push, you could make that work.
I agree.
But also it might not work.
It might not work. Yeah, and there's more value and learning opportunity in switching jobs than just getting exposure to a new programming language as well.
I want you to explain it to me.
Okay. You're like the easiest person to talk to on the whole planet.
Tell me more. I would like to know more.
When you switch companies, not only are you, in this case, it said whole new tech stack. Great. So that implies a new programming language. It also implies like new frameworks that you're working with, new tools, but also like whole new processes, new team cultures, new infrastructure, new customer needs, like a whole new market segment potentially. And to me, that's one of the most valuable reasons to change jobs is that exposure makes you a better engineer, because now you're the known universe of software engineering practices has expanded for you when you change jobs. So I'm almost always going to encourage people to do that after they've hit the 2-year mark, especially if they've only been in their career for about 6 years. I think it's great. Get out there, learn new things, see new cultures, new ways of doing things, and expand your horizons.
That's an interesting point, because you could almost also flip that into justification for why you can still learn stuff at the same company if you are willing to. So you might not learn a new technology stack, but if you're willing to dive into different processes, like is there more wiggle room in switching teams or somehow exposing yourself to some of that stuff that you would get at a new job within the same company?
Yeah.
You'll see a bunch of stuff that the new job does well and a bunch of really broken stuff, and it's very unlikely to be the same set as your previous gigs. You'll see new ways that things you didn't think could go wrong can go wrong.
Yes, exactly. Like, oh, never thought that could happen.
A stand-up can end in bloodshed. Huh. Now I know to beware.
The other thing is, like, I've worked at companies where they're super small and then companies that are super big, and just seeing the different approaches is also instructive, I think. I've worked for big companies that have solved problems that little companies have, but they don't happen enough to matter. So they don't solve them.
Yeah.
And you're like, I wonder what, I often think, I wonder what a solution to this problem would look like. Like, oh yeah, at this small company, we run 3 web servers, and once in a while they have different versions of code on them, and I'm like, oh, well, I don't have time to solve that problem.
Yeah. Oh, well,
then I go work for a big company.
5 minutes a week to fix that.
Yeah,
All
exactly. Then I go work for a big company, and they're like, we run 2,000 web servers, and that is unacceptable. So we will build a whole team around that problem, and they will solve it once and for all for everyone. So, just that exposure is so valuable to me. I don't know. I've got a lot of bias on this one, but I really bias toward learning new things. It's almost the only reason I change jobs anymore.
Well, I'm convinced.
All right. Are you going to quit your job now?
No. I haven't been here 2 years. And also, I'm still learning new things.
Oh,
and I think I have a lot more than 2 years of learning in me at this place, in my role. Also, we've talked about this before on the show. So I work in a management role right now. And in some ways, the feedback loops are longer. So it can take longer to see the impact of things that you do. And they can also be bigger changes. But I feel like the career cycle feels a bit slower on the management side. I don't know if that makes sense. I feel like you would suffer a lot if you bounced around from job to job as a manager every 18 months. You could learn quite a lot and grow quite a bit and not suffer that much if you did that as a developer.
Yeah,
you got to stick through and see some stuff out.
As a developer, 18 months is a really long time. As a manager, like you said, it's not. And I know because I'm sitting.
It's like 3 performance reviews.
That's right. I'm sitting at almost that exact time period right now in my current job in management, and I'm like, oh man, I'm just barely getting started here. I've got, I think about the things that I've wanted to accomplish over the last year and a half, things that I've been saying for a year and a half will be done in 6 months and are still not done. And I think, oh my gosh.
Managers can do it too. It's not just developers.
Yeah. Developers, you aren't the only ones that can be late on everything.
Yeah. Well, have we answered the question?
I think so, but I don't know. I think my answer is yes, go. And your answer is?
Yeah, I think it's go. I mean, if you're willing to take on a bit of risk, then yeah, go. It feels a bit riskier than it did a year ago, but if you're in a position where that's okay, then do it.
Yeah. Honestly, given the history of our podcast, that felt like kind of a softball question.
Yeah, you probably could call the answer pretty early. It just, sometimes it feels good to go back to the classics, Sometimes I just want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Sometimes I just want a question where the answer is quit your job. We've done that. We've eaten the peanut butter and jelly sandwich
of questions.
Yeah, the staple. I guess it depends on what you think of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. If that's the height of gourmet food and luxury, a rare occurrence, then
then maybe not. Or if you have a severe peanut allergy.
Then you're in trouble. We better get out of here. I'm starting to go off the rails.
All right.
What can people do if they want their own questions answered?
Go over to softskills.audio and click the Ask a Question button where you can fill out our amazing form. And we just want to say thank you to everyone who has done that. So many of you give us questions each week, and we love it. It's absolutely our favorite thing. So keep it up. Really appreciate that.
Thank you. We'll catch you next week.